Some songs don't sound dangerous at first. They sound familiar, catchy, country. But the first time someone dropped the needle on this one, it caused a full-blown panic. Not because it was explicit, not because it was profane, but because it was honest. Too honest. A woman singing, loud and proud, about birth control. Not asking permission, not whispering. Just saying what millions of women were already thinking. And for country radio in the mid-70s, that was enough to get it banned. But, oh yeah, that's not the reason I didn't play the song at the top of the episode. The reason I didn't play the song at the top of the episode is because of lawyers. This is Don't Play That Song, the show that digs into the music you almost didn't hear. From chart toppers that sparked outrage to deep cuts that disappeared, this is the podcast that uncovers the stories behind the tracks that were banned, blacklisted, and pulled from your favorite playlists. I'm John Michael, and on this episode, The Pill by Loretta Lynn, a 3-minute country tune that rattled the airwaves, got blacklisted by radio stations, and helped start a conversation no one wanted to have. Loretta Lynn didn't just play country music, she was country music. Born in 1932, Loretta grew up in a small coal mining town called Butcher Holler, Kentucky. Her dad worked in the mines. Her mom kept the house running, somehow, without electricity, without running water, with 8 kids. Loretta didn't grow up dreaming of being a star or anything like that. That came later. She got married at 15. 15! And had 4 kids by 19. When all was said and done, she had 6 total. Music only came into the picture when her husband, Dew, bought Loretta a guitar from Sears for just $17. She picked it up, taught herself to play, started singing wherever she could. It was clear quickly. She had something special. She didn't sound like anyone else. Because she wasn't trying to be polished or poetic. She just said what was on her mind. She'd sing about men cheating, or women getting judged for leaving their husbands, or what it felt like to be exhausted and still doing everything for everyone. And that stood out. Because most country at the time, it was from a man's perspective. Loretta said, "No, sir. I've got something to say, too. And you might not like what you're gonna hear." Here's the thing. Loretta was no stranger to having her songs pulled from radio. It was apparently kinda her thing. Her song Rated X got banned because it talked about divorced women. Wings Upon Your Horns made people uncomfortable because she used churchy language to describe losing your virginity. But The Pill? That was different. That one hit a nerve in a whole new way. Loretta co-wrote The Pill with Laureen Allen, Don McCann, and T.D. Bayless. But make no mistake, this was her story. She said later, "I wrote it for the ladies, not the men, the ladies." And that made sense. Loretta had 6 kids. She knew what it meant to be exhausted, broke, and expected to smile through it. She'd watched women in her town, her sisters, her friends, get stuck in cycles they couldn't escape. No birth control, no access, no options. So when birth control became FDA approved in 1960, it was a game changer, but not for everyone. If you were a wealthy woman in a big city, you could find a doctor who'd prescribe it. If you were a poor woman in rural Kentucky, good luck. Churches preached against it. Your husband most likely did not support it. And even if all that fell into place, it still cost money. Loretta knew that, and she knew what the pill could represent. Not just medical freedom, personal freedom. So, she put it in a song. And she didn't hide the message. Singing, "This old maternity dress I've got is going in the garbage. The clothes I'm wearing from now on won't take up so much yardage. mini skirts, hot pants, and a few little fancy frills. Yeah, I'm making up for all those years since I've got the pill. That last line, that one hit especially hard. Because this wasn't just about pregnancy. It was about power. For once, the woman in the song was calling the shots. And for a lot of men, and more than a few radio stations, that was a problem. Here's a wild detail. Loretta recorded the pill in 1972, but it didn't come out until 1975. 3 years. Why? Because no one knew what to do with it. Her label, MCA, was nervous. They liked Loretta. She was a proven hitmaker. But this song? Too risky. Country music in the early 70s wasn't exactly progressive. There were unwritten rules about what women could sing. You could be sad. You could be heartbroken. You could maybe hint at being mad. But sing directly about your reproductive rights? That was not going to fly. So they shelved it. Until 1975, when they finally decided to put it out. Not because the climate had changed, but because the song was too good to bury. It had a bounce, a sass, a smile in its voice. It was the kind of track that made you tap your foot before you even knew the lyrics. Because musically, the pill almost tricks you. It's upbeat. It's got a little honky-tonk swagger. If you weren't paying attention, you might think it was just another fun Loretta Lynn track. But then you hear the words, and suddenly, it's not just a catchy tune, it's a shot across the bow. And that contrast, that bubbly sound with that message, that's what made it work. It's also exactly what made it dangerous. When the pill came out, Loretta didn't really promote it. No big press tour, no flashy rollout. She didn't even sing it on stage at first. They just put it out quietly and waited and waited. And then the phone calls started. At first, it was a few complaints. Nothing out of the ordinary. But then, more came in. And more. And suddenly, radio stations all over the country were pulling the song. Not just in the Bible Belt, though yeah, a lot of bands came out of the South. Stations in the Midwest refused to touch it. Some out west, too. Even parts of California. A few just said no from the jump. Didn't add it to their rotation at all. Others gave it a spin or two, got some angry calls, and pulled it like it never happened. Program directors called it inappropriate. Some said it was too political. One DJ described it as too explicit, though he didn't really explain what part exactly crossed the line. In the end, more than 60 stations either banned the pill outright or just refused to play it. And some didn't even stop there. They dropped Loretta entirely. Not just this one song, all of her music. There's even a story about a DJ in West Virginia who got suspended just for playing it on air without clearing it first. The bans didn't come from the top. There was no government order, no angry congressional hearing, no FCC memo blasting it across the wires. It all happened quietly, behind the scenes. It started with a few phone calls. Program directors at country stations in small towns, especially in more conservative parts of the country, started checking in with each other. Hey, you playing that new Loretta Lynn song? Nah, too much heat. Yeah, we pulled it too. And that's how it works. That's how songs disappear. Not with a headline, not with a bang, just quiet decisions, one station at a time. No press release, no official statement, just a growing network of stations quietly deciding not to play it. And then, not talking about it. No one wants to be the first to catch heat, or the only one still airing the song that everyone else has dropped. So it spreads, like gossip or a cold. One call turns into 10, 10 turns into 60, and suddenly the song's just not there anymore. For Loretta, that wasn't exactly new. She'd had songs pulled before. She was used to being told to tone it down. But the pill felt different. It didn't just get yanked, it rattled people. And not just the men calling the shots at radio stations. A lot of women were upset too. Especially older women, church-going women. They wrote letters, lots of letters, saying Loretta had gone too far. Some of them wrote in saying she was embarrassing herself. Others said she was setting a bad example for young girls, stating, "Country music is supposed to be about family, no filth." And it stung even more because these were women who'd grown up the same way she had. But they saw the song as a threat, not a lifeline. Like she was dragging country music into places it didn't belong. That songs like this were dangerous. It didn't sit right with them, hearing a woman talk about birth control like it was something to celebrate. But Loretta, she didn't flinch. She didn't argue. She didn't backpedal. She just said, "I'm not the first woman to talk about this. I'm just the first one to sing it on the radio." And that was exactly the point. Loretta didn't back down, not even close. If anything, she leaned into it. She started performing the pill live, night after night, town after town. Didn't matter who was in the audience. Didn't matter what people said. And she made her stance real clear. At one point, a reporter asked if she had any regrets about the controversy. And Loretta just shrugged and said, "I ain't going to apologize for saying what women already know." At her shows, it was obvious who the song was for. When the first line of the pill hit the speakers, the men would usually go still. Some crossed their arms. Some didn't move at all. But the women, oh, they lit up. They screamed. They stood up. They clapped like hell. Because finally, someone was saying it out loud. This wasn't about shock value. It wasn't about politics. It was about truth. About what it felt like to be a mother who'd had kid after kid with no say in the matter. To be stuck in a cycle you didn't choose. To live in a place where birth control wasn't even an option. And if it was, it wasn't talked about. And then here comes Loretta. Big hair, long dress, thick Kentucky accent. On stage in front of everybody, singing about a woman taking control of her own body. It was bold. It was funny. It was real. And once you heard it, you couldn't unhear it. Despite everything, or maybe honestly, because of it, the pill became one of Loretta's biggest hits. It crossed over to the pop charts. It sold millions. And it changed the rules. After the pill, country music couldn't pretend anymore. The line had moved. And behind it came a whole new wave of voices. You don't get Casey Musgraves singing "Follow Your Arrow" without Loretta. You don't get Miranda Lambert or the Chicks or Brandi Carlile. Because Loretta cracked it open. She always said she wasn't trying to make a statement. She was just singing about real life. But real life was political. And by telling the truth, she made space for a whole generation of women to do the same. Years later, she said she didn't regret a word of it. It was just the truth. And the truth's hard to swallow sometimes. So yeah, a song about birth control got pulled from country radio. Not because it was obscene, not because it was violent, but because it made people uncomfortable. And sometimes that's all it takes. But the people who needed to hear it, they found it anyway. They bought the record. They passed it around. They played it at home loud. Because when you're not used to hearing your life in a song and suddenly someone sings it, that changes things. So when the radio said, "Don't play that song," millions of women said, "Play it again." Thanks for listening to Don't Play That Song. I'm John Michael. If you liked this episode, follow the show. Leave a review and tell a friend. New episodes drop weekly, so hit that follow button and don't miss a beat. And if you want even more, full episode transcripts plus the official companion playlist for the podcast is available at don'tplaythatsong.com. Listen to the tracks, read along, and dig deeper into every story. Until next time, keep it loud, keep it honest, and whatever you do, definitely play that song.